I've been waiting in the shadows. Welcome back to the Roaring Peacock podcast. We talk about Leeds United and other things. My name's Adonis, and you know me as at the Adelites on Twitter. It's a very good hello from me. Joining us to discuss Rasmus, Raphinha, Aronson, the Nations League, and look back at the season, the tremendous season that was 2021-2022, is Juicy Rob at Juicy Rob.
Yo, it's been a while.
Been a while, and Barney from the internet at Barney LUFC21.
Oi, you all right?
I'm good, thank you. Barney, first of all, Robin Koch, he doesn't like Yorkshire puddings. What's that all about?
I suppose we can let him off because he's a good-looking bastard, isn't he? There's some of those pictures in that article are proper model poses. Lovely bloke.
Yep, okay. Rasmus Christensen. So we've already signed Brendan Aronson, but he was far too pretty. So Ewan was saying that we need to sign an horrible bastard, and it looks like we've got one immediately. First thoughts. Christensen. Sexy. Horrible. Mean.
Big horrible right back.
I'm quite excited about him, to be honest. I don't know why I'm excited about him, but he just looks like, you know, we've missed that personality from Alioski just by watching some of the stuff he does when he was at Salzburg. He looks like that sort of player. And just watching his interview earlier, he said that he's from a small Danish village. His dad's mates support Leeds United, so he knows all about the city and the club and stuff. There's something about him I'm quite excited about.
Okay. Rob?
Yeah, I think he's a bargain, isn't he, as well, at 10 million. I mean, he's got experience in European competitions. He looks like a kind of classic right back. He looks like he can handle himself and put in a crunching challenger or two. Got a cool name as well. And yeah, I like the look of him from what I've seen. I think in terms of signings go, he excites me more than Aronson in terms of value for money of what we've paid. And we've tied him in until 2027 as well. So a long deal, a fairly long deal in terms of modern football. So yeah, happy with the signing. Hopefully he turns out to be the right back that we think he'll be.
Best right back in the Austrian Bundesliga, apparently. And if you look at the other clubs who were trying to sign him, Brentford and Dortmund, both notorious for their very good recruitment. A few people saying hello. Alison and Marty Adams. Evening all. Evening. Woohoo. Hi guys, says Nora. Show Nora some love, please. She's had a appendix removed. I don't know if you wanted me to tell everybody, but there we go. I've done it now.
Nora.
Yeah, so show her some love. Very weird how hospitals give you an operation and then immediately send you out. Look at Barney. Barney's frozen. Look at him.
We've lost him.
Bit of a nice moment to a bit of a nice still there. No, we're really excited about Rasmus. He looks like a monster, a cult hero in the making, says Alison and Marty Adams. Nova says, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Nova. Solanum, Linanium. I think I call you Sol, don't I? Well, it's good to see you back, mate. Looks like a Danish Viking. His ancestors probably I don't think I can say that on YouTube.
His ancestors probably rated Leeds United as a football club. I think
right.
You were going to say that.
And pillaged our podcast in the reviews. Nora, evening Nova, and people wishing Nora well. Right.
Did you see those little Rasmus stats, by the way? I tweeted them out from, I don't know if they're true, but from Champions League stats from this season. He was first in tackles per game at 4.6 tackles per game and third in duels won per game at 9.1. So I know it's easy to manipulate stats from anywhere, but I was quite happy to read those.
So he's the best player from the Champions League. Is that what you're telling me?
In terms of tackles per game, yeah, apparently, statistically.
And he score 10 goals last season as well. Something ridiculous. From a right back, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, remember that was in the Farmers League though, wasn't it? That is Austria.
He got an international assist the other day though, in only his 5th cap, I think.
Okay.
Was that against France?
Yeah, he got an assist. He set up their second, I think.
Excellent. Well, very good. good work, Victor. He's come under a lot of criticism. Probably fair criticism. I didn't agree with the angry mob trying to with their with their burning pitchforks when he was with his wife outside the Brentford ground. But I also didn't think that it was probably the right moment to be posing for photographs.
No. After that season we've had to go through, it's probably not the best to do. No. Didn't agree with how he was treated, but maybe sometimes you just need to read the room, don't you?
That's the problem when you put yourself in the limelight, I think, as a personality like that, when you stick your head above the parapet or whatever, you precipice, and you go above and out beyond to make yourself this larger than life personality that loves the club and this. It just doesn't look great when you stood outside a stadium when you've survived by the skin of your teeth. You're getting questioned about bad signings, and you're sort of putting yourself above the club by saying, "Oh, if it wasn't for me, 16 years out of the Premier League without me." And I think it's a bad look, even though he probably didn't mean it in the context that the mobile phone footage showed. It's not a great look, is it really?
I mean, he seemed to look a bit scared, and I can understand that because that's what we do, Leeds fans. We can scare people a bit, don't we? To be fair.
Especially if Leeds fans have been on the piss all day going to London, it's probably not a good idea. But...
Yeah. Okay. Raphinha debacle, and the reason I call it a debacle is that I've never seen, other than us with Ben White, I've never seen a club fan base basically try and generate so much noise or basically just give him to us. I mean, the entitlement, we've seen a lot of entitlement in the UK recently, but mostly it's been in Westminster. But these Barcelona fans and journalists just feel like Leeds should give them Raphinha. Rob, we better go to you because Barney's frozen in time.
Barney's frozen again. I was waiting for Barney to jump in. I was thinking he's not going to jump in. He's still frozen.
Look at that.
I think for me, it's one of those, isn't it? Like, I agree with you. It stinks of entitlement. If you've not got the money to pay the fee that the player is owed, he's still under contract. We saw it a bit with Scum, with Jadon Sancho, when they were chasing him for a couple of years. And there's this almost this like arrogance of, well, he should come to us for 80 million because that's what we're willing to pay and we're Manchester United. And Barcelona are doing the kind of reverse of that. They're sort of saying exactly that, like similar effect, sorry. He should just come to us. He wants to come to us. Why don't you just allow him to come? Well, actually, he's still under contract. And, if he stays with us another year, he's still got a year left of that deal. And then he might want to run that deal down. So if that happens and we've paid 17 million and got like 4 seasons out of him, absolutely fine with that. But yeah, we shouldn't be cowtailing to Barcelona, and we should stand firm. There's no reason for us to let him go for anything less than what we want in terms of monetary value wise. And I think the player knows that as well. So, I agree. Barcelona are acting like spoiled children. They can't afford to pay. They owe existing players huge sums of money. Spotify are putting all kinds of demands. They're having to host weddings on the football pitch just to scrape some extra change together. And I like Barcelona as a football club, but the way they're acting at the minute, it stinks of desperation. Let them negotiate with Angel Di Maria, get him and have to pay a few million quid a month for him because he's going to demand huge salary, and leave Raphinha be. I'd be quite happy for him to stay with us, and Barcelona walk away with the tail between their legs.
Yep, Barney, Barcelona, Raphinha.
To be honest, I thought this transfer was going to go on all summer, to be honest. I think there's going to be other teams that are going to come in for him as well, not just Barcelona. Like Rob says, Barcelona just think because we're Barcelona, we should be getting Raphinha no matter what. By the sounds of it, Deco has done like a little cheeky deal, said, yeah, you can have him on the cheap, it's all sorted, don't worry about it. But Leeds are like, hang on, no, we're staying up. We're not doing that. We don't need to sell you. And also, it could be a win-win for us if we keep him and then he does well in the World Cup this year. We could probably double what we're asking for him now. So it's in our court, the ball. So I think we just need to not go silly and just go sell him or do it. We do not want a swap deal whatsoever with Barcelona, because I think it's shown getting players from Barcelona who've been on the fringes of the team are not up to standard in the Premier League at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, when we were in financial trouble, we weren't, trying to get one of the best young Brazilian stars in the world, like a future Galactico or whatever.
The audacity is unreal. I mean, you've got to take some of it with a pinch, haven't you? We don't know what's what, but yeah, I think the audacity is unreal.
It's unbelievable.
We just went for Rocco Jr., didn't we? That was the problem. We went for a Brazilian superstar, but it was absolutely awful.
Okay, a few more of your comments. I'm not appreciating this very much, Sol. Hi, Nora. That's one useless piece of flesh out of your life. Just need to do the same next with your Adonis. Cheers, mate. Adam Clark, hello. Hope you're all good now. Nora, waiting for a hernia operation myself. Alison and Marty had 10 minutes of fame by Rads liking my tweet last week saying I loved him. Oh, dear. Whoa, shots fired. Nora doesn't agree. That's good to know. I've still got a relationship here. All the best to you. I hope it's going well. Christy Ann has joined us, says Gail. Not sure what that means. Christian, right. Sol, hope we can hold on to Raf until the World Cup. Probably add another 30 mil to his value. So yeah, I mean the only downside of that is he'd have a year left. Some people have said that we have an option to extend his contract. I haven't seen that anywhere from any reliable source, just a rumor.
But even if you're onto a year and we then have to probably accept a lower value for him, we've got another year out of him, and we only paid 17 million. I think the kind of like hedge your bets type thing, or whether you cut your losses, is if someone else, like Barney says, if someone else comes in for him and says, look, here's 70 million quid, no installments up front, and we'll take him off your hands this summer, do you say, yeah, okay, or do you play hardball for another 10 or 15 million on the basis that it could go wrong at the World Cup? He could get injured, he could something like to that effect. So I don't know, if someone comes up with the cash up front, and like Barca keep pretending to do, then I don't see a problem in letting him go, but it has to be for the right amount, and we shouldn't bend over for anyone in order to receive that amount or less.
Okay, Brendan Aronson. How do you feel about him?
He's very pretty.
He's pretty, isn't he?
He's very typical sort of teen American you'd expect in like, the new Peacock channel. In those sort of those American shows, remakes of Saved by the Bell or something like that. Very, very typically American. Looks
No
good
affiliation.
footballer as well.
Yeah.
The OC, like a good surfer dude.
Yeah.
Looks good footballer as well, which is the main thing.
Yeah. That's the secondary goal, right? Because we're trying to create the sexiest team that's ever existed. And I feel like we're covering quite a few bases now with the pretty boy of Aronson, and then the sort of rugged Viking sex appeal of Rasmus. Rob, Brendan Aronson.
The most stressful thing for me about him is he was born in the year 2000. I still can't get over the fact that people born in the year 2000 are professional footballers. I feel so old. But he looks all right. I'm concerned about the value we've paid for him just because of the Rodrigo situation. I don't want the money invested in him to be seen as like a middling transfer or a non-successful transfer. But he's certainly got premise. He's a young kid. Marsh believes in him. They worked together before. And he looks, when he played alongside Pulisic the other day for America, he looked like a decent proposition. So let's see. Hopefully he turns out to be a good investment.
Okay, and that moves us nicely on then to international football, the topic that everyone was waiting for. Have you watched any of the Nations League or the friendlies?
Unfortunately,
no, Barney?
Yes.
I watched probably about half an hour, 45 minutes of the Welsh game. But other than that, no. Not watched any of it. Doesn't interest me at all.
Dan James?
Yeah, happy for him.
It's a right little bastard, isn't he? And what I love about him, when he does a little foul and the ref goes to him, you know when you got told off as a kid by your parents or a teacher, and you just looks like, what? I haven't done anything. He just does that little face like, you know exactly what you've done. You've been busted, but no, I haven't done anything. No, I'm fine.
Strange haircut as well. Interesting. It's like bangs, isn't it? Is that the term?
He just needs like his eyebrow with a.
Like E17. For those that remember that.
Yeah.
Band E17. He looks like he could play for them.
Yeah, 2 minutes in, getting right up in the ref's face and screaming, fuck off. Immediately getting a yellow card. I just thought that perfectly summed up Dan James.
Well, they'll all play each other, won't they? Aronson, James, Tyler Roberts if he makes the squad, and then Calvin. They'll all play each other in the group stages, won't they?
Yeah, we just need to sign someone from Iran next, and then we've got the Group D or whatever it is. Bingo. Rob, you've seen some international games.
Yeah, tediously so, unfortunately. Like, I forced myself to sit through them. I think the Wales-Ukraine game was good, but it added a bit of spice to some great saves. It was kind of touch and go right until the very end. But yeah, the England games, unfortunately, I just don't think there's a need. I don't think there's a need to, not that if you're using the Nations League as an experiment, then play an experimental team. He picked players that mostly will know that they're on the plane to the World Cup. So therefore, they didn't really need to try, and they're in summer vacation mode, and it's just like going through the motions. If he'd have picked fringe players who maybe have a chance of, impressing, then I think there might have been a bit more drive and passion. But for the most part, the games were slow. Players didn't look that interested, to be honest, especially against Germany. It was more of a kind of training exercise. And I think that's because he went safe and he picked players that think, oh, I'm already on the plane, so let's just go through the motions and then I can have my summer holiday. That was like that BBC News skit then, Barney, with the lad coming in. Is he passing you some urgent transfer news?
Well, I'm trying to, because at the moment I seem like I'm on dial-up at the moment, so I'm going to try log into the other Wi-Fi we've got and see if that works. So I apologise to people how shit it is at the moment from my point.
I thought he was handing you a transfer scoop
dialing up there.
Someone else from Red Bull Salzburg signing.
Yeah, it's like those notes that Jesse Marsh passes to.
Play better.
Yeah,
try harder.
Score a fucking goal. Yeah, it was weird. It's always weird watching international games. There's the kind of excitement about it. I tweeted out the other day, Germany versus England. You get really excited about it. As soon as Calvin gets injured, you think, God, you turn 180 degrees on the topic, and you suddenly hate international football. What's the point of this stupid Nations League? It's basically, the international Europa Conference version. It's just, I just feel like the players needed a break. I don't mind international football. I don't know why we're going to Qatar. I think it's an odd time to do it. I think it's a very strange place to go.
Yeah.
We should be looking forward to a World Cup now. This is when the World Cup should be, this summer.
Exactly, yeah.
It's massively hypocritical, isn't it, to give a World Cup to Qatar and then to, sanction other nations.
Yeah,
6,500 people died in the construction of the stadiums in Qatar. I just think the whole thing's just. Maybe we should just scrap international football completely, and then just at least give it a break, couple of years, and have a rethink about it.
Oof, that's
bold statement.
I can see why he's saying it though, because of the players have not had
incendiary.
the players haven't had a break, have they? Because of the amount of games they've had to squash in because of the pandemic. as well. And now you're asking players to literally do a major tournament during a season as well. I mean, it's been unprecedented this season, the amount of injuries across, not just in the Premier League, but across the whole of the leagues in this country. But then you're asking players to do international games along during a campaign in the league as well. So, I mean, if we're thinking that we're over injuries now, can you just imagine what it's going to be like come December, January time, when players have had to play another games on top of the league, Champions League,
Travel
FA
as well.
Cup, as traveling as well. Yeah, it's just mad. And
no, go on. Sorry, Barney.
I think it's just mad, and a lot of people say, well, they get paid for it. Yeah, but you're asked that these players can only do so much before their bodies will just break again.
They're millionaires. They don't need more money.
Just buy some new limbs. Buy a new hip. No, I'm just thinking about the dates, because I was trying to work this out the other day. Like if that weekend of the 12th and 13th of November, is it? Yeah, no, sorry, yeah, 12th and 13th of November is the last domestic Premier League. Not EFL. EFL stop later, but so Premier League stops that weekend, and then we rejoin on the Boxing Day on the 26th. But the final is 8 days before Boxing Day. So really, unless you make the final, so a team like England or someone that progresses to quarters or semis, they're going to have about 2 weeks between exiting the competition and the Premier League starting again. So that's like a similar winter break to what like Germany and Italy and other leagues have, isn't it? So the logic of the 2 week gap, which we did this year around March, didn't we? I think the Premier League did it with the winter break, but it was spring break really. So I can see that, but yeah, there's not enough time between domestic finishing and cramming in European fixtures from teams that are in the top six. There's not enough time. There's not enough gap. We're going to have people like Klopp and, Conte and all of them. They'll all be wheeling out the fixture congestion violins, because there is just an absolute abundance of fixtures going to need to be played in November, January, and February. It's going to be chaos.
Sorry, Rob's stream dying. Just my stream is dying as well.
Oh, sorry.
Hang on.
Everyone's stream's dead. I can hear you boys both.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you now as well. Did itself. Okay, well, international football, we can scrap that. I think we've all agreed on that. Terrible idea. And I don't understand why the Nations League is happening this year, because it happened last year, right? It's meant to be every 2 years. So they've just seen, an opportunity. Here's a free summer. We'll stick it in again. It's just...
I think their justification was that they need to play it this year in the gap that they have created, because the World Cup is in the winter, which means the normal qualifications for the Euros now need to take place the following summer. So they've created their mess, and their solution is, well, we'll just move the fixtures to this summer because of a gap. There's a gap, but they've created the gap by causing the mess. UEFA and FIFA, innit?
And they don't really mind, though. That's it. The thing is, if they could, they would get these players out on those pitches every single day of the week. Yeah, every day of the week. And it would be even better for them in summer, because then during these drinks breaks that they have in the summer, they can play ads.
Yeah, 100%. How's it going to work when, like, 24-25 season, when the Champions League basically reverts to being the ESL, but in a different guise, where it drops the group stages and it's just one league? So if you finish in the top four and you now have to play 10 group stage games instead of what is currently 6, right? So you're playing 10 group stage games. Imagine if they decide to do another Winter World Cup. How are you going to fit 10 group stage games in your European competitions into a domestic calendar? One of the competitions is going to have to get dropped, which will probably be the Carabao. But yeah, it's insane, really.
The only thing we almost won. Jesus, this podcast is falling apart.
Which leads us nicely onto the season review.
Right. Exactly. Rasmus just looks like a Leeds player, doesn't he? Gail, Allison and Marty Adams. Roll on August, some proper football to watch, says Bremner's Ghost. That's a surprise, a Leeds player getting injured, says Gail. she's going to Norway for 10 days. Well, have a lovely a trip. Michael Gott, do we think the off season is too short? Knows it's good for us, but does football need a makeover? Absolutely. It's absolutely too short. And too many international games. Paul Hornboy, will players whose teams get knocked out of the World Cup get back to play for their clubs?
Yeah, they'll be released, but I assume they'll be
I
on
hope
leave.
so.
Yeah, because
unless they're indefinitely detained in Qatar or
could be, could happen.
They spent all this money on these new stadiums, and it's like, you're not going. We've spent this money on these stadiums now. It's a new league.
Barcelona's new plan is the Qatari Super League. They're planning on trapping all the players there to generate lost revenue.
Just start playing that Hotel California. No, but we joke about that. But all of these people are being praised for coming out. So we've had that. It was Jake Daniels, wasn't it? Professional footballer, and you've had a couple of referees. I think one in Scotland, and but if you continue to have massive sporting events in places like Qatar, where it's homosexuality is illegal, I mean, are they hanging people still, or is that only Saudi Arabia, or you know what I mean? Anyway, it's illegal. How are they going to be getting called up to their country and going to a place like that, and then I think it's definitely got to be sorted out. Michael Gott, in NFL, they start in September, finish in December. If they don't make playoffs or January, if they do, so roughly 6 to 8 months break. I think that's getting a bit too much. Now, come on.
Different
they are millionaires.
Pyramid, isn't it? The NFL to footballers.
They're getting paid a lot of money, these footballers. I mean, they don't need that much holiday.
That's basically like teachers. They only work 6 months of the year. They don't do anything else.
Bloody teachers. Don't even get me started, Barney.
Good job my wife isn't watching this.
She's not a teacher anymore. She's a bloody headmaster sitting in her ivory tower.
Yeah, do that.
Bloody supervisors don't do anything, do they? Michael Gott, League Cup should be dropped by the Premier League and combined with the Paints Trophy or whatever. It's Papa John's now, is it?
Papa John's?
Yeah.
We've gone from paint to pizza.
Papa John's, the ZX Spectrum, or whatever it's called for the championship down. And not sure if I fancy Qatar, says Gail. Okay, 2021-2022 season review. Should we talk about Bielsa first?
Where do we start?
Not good enough for me. Not convinced.
I think we've said this before. It wasn't meant to end how it ended. I feel like the club have thrown him under the bus a little bit with stuff. The timing of the sacking after what was a transfer window was a very odd timing. But I at the start of the season, and we were losing games, and there was pre-season wasn't exactly be. I still thought these players could improve on, well, not improve on ninth possibly, but I still think we would have competed well last season. But I mean, I absolutely love the man marking system. I love watching those individual duels with players, and especially playing with some of the best players in the world as well, in winning those duels. But it got to a stage where I was just used to us getting whipped by teams by the top six, and it was getting embarrassing. And I must admit, it was the first time at that Spurs game after he got sacked, and I thought, it's not working this anymore. Those players look absolutely dejected. They were looking at each other, and every time a goal went in, they were like, "Yeah, it's gone in again, hasn't it? Gone in again." And this wasn't the team that I fell in love with. And even against some of the teams like Burnley at the start of the season was really, really hard work to watch. It wasn't the free-flowing football that we were used to. But I do think that the whole the whole thing of how it was handled it still stinks, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, just going on what you were saying, Barney, when some of those goals were going in, they weren't even shouting at each other anymore.
No.
And that's the kind of moment when you're like, okay, it's gone here, hasn't it? Rob, Bielsa.
Yeah, I'd echo it really what you've just said. I don't think he lost the dressing room, but I think certainly the spark and the magic went. You felt that a lot of the times, even before the horrendous, run that eventually got him kind of kicked out before he should have been, in my opinion. I just think the magic of, like Barney said, the free flowing elements of the game had gone. The passion for a defensive unit, even when that unit wasn't working, there was always an element of, right, we concede, but don't worry, let's go and score. We'll get one in, or we'll get two in, or we'll have a go at them and take it to them. But yeah, those results against Spurs particularly was difficult to swallow. And the Villa, I know that happened when Just Much came on, that transition period, the Villa result was also difficult. It was just a not very nice time. But I think in terms of Bielsa, I did say it quite vocally on Twitter, and I still stand by it. I think he should have been given to the end of the season. I don't think we would have gone down, but that's by the by. We got Jesse in, and I will just sort of agree with Barney again on the point that it felt a bit wrong at the time. I know that there was always a possibility that with his single yearly deals that he would get moved on at the end of this season, and my understanding was that Jesse was always going to be coming in this summer anyway, or someone of his ilk for whatever reasons. But I just think the way it was handled by the club was a bit kind of not the same sentiment and care that they've shown to the fan base on some of the issues and some of the other things that have happened over the last few years. It was more of a reverting back to that kind of like Gaviscon badge style handling of the fan base. Let's just get rid of Bielsa and blame everything on him and throw him under the bus. So yeah, I didn't like that element, similar to Barney. But there's no doubt his legacy. There's no doubt in what he did for us. But yeah, something about this season, combination of injuries, playing under 18s and under 23s, under 23s having to support the first 11s and so on. It just didn't work, and the magic had gone. So yeah, sad for the ending. It shouldn't have ended how it did, but we stayed up.
Yeah. So I mean, what I wanted to say about this was I was thinking about it today. When Risdale was chairman, and they were trying to find these dodgy ways of getting loans in to pay for players. The way that they sold the club to investors, was the fans. And they were quoted as saying, even if we were to get relegated, for example, there would still be 20 to 25,000 people who would buy tickets and turn up every single week and buy shirts. And cut forward to the modern era, and the way that Victor Orta sells the club to players is he sends them a little video highlights reel of the club, and one of the main selling points is the fans and the atmosphere of Elland Road, as well as the city, of course. But it's an old cliche in football that owners can go, managers can go, players can go, but the one thing that remains is the fans, and they'll outlast probably any owner, any manager, any player. And I think that the board have seriously forgotten that. And I think that that's why there was so much toxicity during the Brighton game, for example, because they haven't come out. I know Rad's released that little video when Bielsa was sacked, but there hasn't been enough interaction. I don't think there was enough interaction with the supporters advisory group that they set up in November. I don't know why they set that up if they weren't going to use them. I don't think that they've listened to the trust at times, and I don't think that they have interacted and been humble enough during the season to keep the fans on board. And I think that that's what you're talking about, Rob, when you say they threw Bielsa under the bus.
Yeah, very eloquently put, Donny. That's my thoughts on it. It took the fan base to show Bielsa how much we cared, even after the poor results and after the dismissal from various things, the messages on the board, interactive board that certain websites put out, all the way through to those fans that did the newspaper article in Rosario. But I think the fans showed more of an understanding of, right, this is the way it's ended. It shouldn't have been this way, but it has ended. So now we'll separate amicably, but this is how much we love and adore and appreciate everything you've done for the past 3 years. And I agree with you. The club haven't been transparent enough in communicating with us those kind of, was it an awkward question that Jesse March had to field in an interview where he kind of admitted that they'd courted him up to 2 weeks before the Spurs result. And that's what felt a bit sinister for me. It's like, look, if we're going to get rid of the guy and he's going to stay to the end of the season, and you as a club chairman decide that you don't want to take that risk and you don't want him to see out the rest of the season because you fear relegation, just be honest with the fans. Just be honest with us.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy. I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy for most of this season, but I was happy.
That state of depression.
I was happy that they had contingency plans in place. I was happy that they acted, because I'm unlike you, Rob. I did think that we were going down if we didn't make a change, but obviously we'll never know.
No, it's by the by. I'm happy we stayed up. That's all that matters.
But I think they really needed to communicate properly with everybody. Okay, ill discipline. The most cards ever in the Premier League. Born out of frustration, probably. But it was never really abided under Bielsa before. So I don't really know what's happened. And Jesse's sort of come in and he's been saying we've got to be a son of a bitch on the pitch. But players like Dan James, you feel like they maybe needed to step back a bit. And Firpo as well. Tyler Roberts was another one who gives silly free kicks away. Ill-disciplined, Barney.
I think you've nailed it on the head. I think it was more frustration more than anything. Obviously, last season, the season before when we first got into the Premier League, teams were aware of our man marking system and how it would. I think this season, I'm not going to say we got found out because I don't think we did get found out completely. But I think the fact that a man marking system, you need to be aggressive in those tackles, in those individual duels, and I think players played on that a little bit. I think also with the cards under Jesse Marsh, I think it was just born out of frustration because they've had to completely relearn a new system. It must be so hard for a player when you've been so well drilled for 4 years under Bielsa, muscle memory and things like that, to completely change the whole premise of how you're going to be playing that in that game. So games where sometimes we were going to a man marking system, then we were going to a zonal system, and that's why it probably looked a little bit messy in parts as well. And I think that's why some of the players got frustrated because, like, no, I can't do that, but I want to do that. I'm going to go in for that tackle. No, I shouldn't have gone in for that tackle. And I think it's a mixture of frustration, probably teams knowing how we're going to get the ball back a little bit as well, and also I think also this team, I think they were always going to be down as a legacy team because of they got us promoted after so many years out of the Premier League. But I also think that they were hurting probably more than us, where the position they were in, because some of those players probably never would have thought they were going to be playing Premier League football, let alone playing under a coach like Bielsa as well. And I think they didn't want to lose their legacy within the club, so they were probably a lot of the time playing with heart rather than head sometimes as well.
Yeah, Rob?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think if you change a system so drastically during that pivotal part of the season, people are going to get caught flat-footed. They're not often going to understand what they're doing. There was a few times off camera, when you're at Elland Road watching the games, and you would see in the early Jesse March games, specifically Click and Firpo, running over to the bench to trying to get instructions. They're kind of like, gesturizing. They're like, what am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to be? And I don't think there's any coincidence that Firpo racked up, 11 or 12, was it, yellow cards this season. He looked
Was that
out of
what it
position.
was?
Yeah, he was second only to. I think I've got it saved. I did a bit of research.
We got over 100, didn't we? So.
Yeah, we got 100, but in terms of Leeds, he was second only to Lee Bowyer and Oliver Decor, I think, in terms of season yellow cards.
They're legends as well.
Yeah.
So we finished on 100 whatever plus with 3 reds. And another stat that I pulled out, this was back up my second point, is that apart from Arsenal in 2019, 2020, all of the other high kind of carded teams, the statistics show that they were like late 90s, like 98, 99, Derby 99, 2000s, Everton 88, 98, 99 as well. Sorry. We seem to be only one of the only modern teams that's obviously we're now ranked number 1 for that most cards in a team for a season. And I think it goes down to that, exactly what Barney said, massive change in structural play when you're playing from one system to another, completely different, free-flowing, elegant, passing, man-marking football to here's zonal, here's, you've got to do this, this, and this in the defensive block and change the shape. People didn't know where they were and what they were doing, so they just resorted to the good old-fashioned way of crunching people, which got them carded.
Yeah, and the other thing I'd say is we kept getting caught out over the top, so
yeah,
there were a lot of necessary yellow cards taken in transition. Okay, 40 people watching. Smash the like, says Derek Moore. Thank you. Thanks, Derek.
Cheers,
Thanks. We forget to do that. So, yeah, big thumbs up for us. Thanks, because we deserve it. I love Bielsa, but he needed to go. He wasn't willing to adapt, says Derek. Stuck in his ways. Michael Gott, you can only play Bielsa's way continually if you have the right players and squad, aka City, and we just didn't have it. What we did to Bielsa has killed a bit of my love, says Paul Homboy. And Michael Gott, maybe the wrong person went. Maybe it should have been the board. Derek Moore, I think if we didn't sack him, he would have left himself at the end of the season. So lots of obviously massive differing opinions, and can't really disagree with anybody. It's one of those things where it's just you couldn't do right for doing wrong, and we'll just never know. Lots of late goals this season. I don't know if that's a record, but it certainly was for any team. We scored more than any other team after injury time last season. Do you think that we were just doing it the hard way and we were just trying to force it through with will?
Early in the season, definitely. There was times at Elland Road where you think we could have killed games off, or we shouldn't be behind. We shouldn't have fallen behind, and last minute equalizers, or I'm talking pre-injury issues, pre-December, like August, September, October, when we were scraping and scrapping for 0-0s and 1-1s and last minute goals going in. They weren't enjoyable, the last minute goals, not compared to, for example, like, the euphoria of Joffrey against Norwich, or, Brentford goal coming in, things like that. They weren't comfortable games to watch, or it didn't feel comfortable. So yeah, I think there was an air of desperation, and it was kind of like artillery. We were kind of bombarding everything forward in the last few minutes of games. And you need a bit of good fortune now and again. You're not going to go and deliver what Bielsa delivered with that squad week in, week out, and not have to go through the cosh a bit. But it was an uncomfortable watch. And I think the late goals were less celebrated and more celebrated for what they were as in goals, and more celebrated because of the relief that they brought.
Yeah, it was fun though, wasn't it? Fun.
It really wasn't. Honestly, I've always said to myself, going to football games should be an enjoyment. It should be a release from everyday life. But having to endure some of those games, I was like, thank fuck that season's over, because I have not enjoyed any of that whatsoever. It's not been fun. It's been stressful. It's been having to watch other teams do us a favour as well. I've not enjoyed that. We should just concentrate on ourselves. And if you've got to rely on other teams to do you a favour, that's when you need to start worrying. And I mean, you know me, I'm probably one of the most positive people, but even I was broken towards the end of the season. I had enough of it.
I couldn't
I've had
believe it.
enough. Yeah.
Okay, spot quiz. Our first league win of the season. Which month?
I want to say October.
Yeah, Barney?
August.
October is correct. 1-0 versus Watford.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah, we did
That was
win
a
in
game where
August.
we dominated him. He got sacked the next game, didn't he? Was it Silva, the manager, before Ranieri? That
Yeah,
was the game
that's
he got.
right, yeah.
We pasted him all over and we only scored one, and he got sacked the next game.
Yeah, we had an XG of 1.9. And they had an XG against of 0.2. So that was a 1-0 win against Watford. The mighty
They were
Watford.
poor as well that day. They were terrible. They were one of the worst teams I've seen at Elland Road in a few years as a unit. That day they were really bad.
We only won 3 league games in 2021 in last season. Can you name the opponents? So you've already got Watford. So there was 2 other wins.
West Ham came after Christmas, didn't it? Yeah, that was January. West Ham.
That was on my
Christmas.
birthday, during the 16th.
We played them 5 times in one day. It felt like anyway. We had
That's
them
what it
3
felt
times
like,
in a
yeah.
week, didn't we?
And that VAR decision, that was so dodgy.
Was that Norwich away?
Norwich away, 2-1. A very comfortable, another comfortable win against the strong opposition.
Yeah.
And the last one was Crystal Palace, 1-0 at home. Again, a massive victory. Very reassuring.
Not good.
It wasn't good. Our only other wins came against Burnley,
West Ham.
3-1. West Ham, you mentioned before, Rob, 3-2. Norwich again, the mighty Norwich. We thumped them 2-1. That was Gelhardt, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a late goal. That was the only part. You know, Barney was saying about the season being non-enjoyable. I would 100% agree with him. But there was those 2 games back to back, which was Norwich when Joffrey scored, and then Wolves when by half time I didn't get an away ticket, so I was wanting to smash my TV to bits, and then all of a sudden the miraculous cover came. Those 2 games were the only point of the season that I felt happy. Like the rest of the season, I've not been happy with at all.
Yeah, it felt like a turning point, didn't it?
Yeah. And then Burnley to win 17 in a row.
Yeah, then we had Southampton 1-1 and then Watford 3-0. So that was like, 3 wins in 4 games, and it felt like, we might do it here. And then, as you said, Rob, Burnley turned it around. And our next win was in this wonderful shirt, which I've always loved. As soon as it came out, I said, purple, that's what we've needed. But we never won in the blue one. So there you go. Pitch invasions was a big topic. And what I would say is I'm glad that our last game wasn't at home, because you can imagine that we probably would have had a pitch invasion, and we would have put the sort of the distressful events of like Forest and people, and City as well. Somebody got beaten up, didn't they? We'd have put them to shame because there was so much vitriol and toxicity among Leeds fans.
Well, credit to the people who went to Brentford, I think, for not doing that. I mean, I know it's tempting, but I don't necessarily, unless you're winning, like the league or something, and it's done in a safe-ish way. I'm a bit of a bore when it comes to things like that. I don't agree with charging the pitch, and especially not attacking or assaulting opposition players. But fair play to all the Leeds away fans who were at Brentford for, behaving themselves to a large degree.
And Barney, you and I were together watching that game.
That was lovely, and I nearly didn't come, and I'm glad I didn't. I did now. I just think that if I had watched that on my own at home, I was like, oh yeah, we've won, and not felt like I wouldn't have giving you and Nora a massive hug, and you and a massive hug, and it was brilliant, but really good. Really enjoyed that. I'm glad I did it now. I didn't. like I said in the previous pod after the game, I didn't know how to react after. I mean, the amount of pressure I felt, that like thinking it's going to be shit. We're going to get relegated. Everything's going to go wrong again. We're back to square one. And the amount of pressure was like, we've stayed up. We can actually enjoy the summer now, not worrying that Raphinha is going, Phillips is going, the whole team's going to be dismantled. We're worrying about who's going to own the club and stuff. It feels like, right, let's just enjoy it now.
Rob, the Brentford game.
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge. I had the game on stream on one like device, and then on the main TV I had Soccer Saturday. So I was watching like obviously the goings on in the other grounds at the same time. And I must admit, when the first goal, not the disallowed goal, that got chalked off for Joffrey being offside, but when the actual first goal went in, and then to watch Dawson's reaction, I've watched it a few. I don't know why, he's not even a Leeds fan, but to see his reaction when Harrison's goal goes in. Just that for me was how I felt in that one moment of ecstasy. Just to know, it was like a wave of relief, to know that you're safe. And exactly what Barney just said, to feel like actually this summer we're not going to have to watch the whole effort of the last 3 years be washed away. The whole kind of like us against the world mentality, all the montages on BBC Sport and Sky News about Leeds being back and all this, not for it just to be a waste for one season. It was kind of a massive relief rather than an enjoyment spectacle. It was more of a let's enjoy the summer, which now we can hold Barcelona to ransom for the next few months and demand high transfer fees.
Okay, so very quickly then, a final thought. Rob, was that your final thought? Or?
That was my final thought. And I appreciate you boys as well this season. It's been good watching the pods, getting involved again. More in 2022-23, I am sure, from the mastermind that is at the Adelites.
Jeez, that's a
no
a mouthful.
Pressure.
It's going to be a mouthful, that isn't it? 2022-2023. Barney, final thoughts on a wonderful, lovely season, which we all looked back in fondness.
I think now I can just appreciate what Bielsa did for us, but also I can think, right, now the summer's over, now that the season's over, this is the start of I know it sounds corny, this is the start of the new dawn. I'm still not convinced about Jesse Mars, but we've got him. We've brought 2 players in already very early, and I think it's just now this is a new dawn. This is maybe a start of a new team, and some of the older guards stepping aside a little bit as well. So it's exciting times now. I think we're gonna get some more players in, and I think we're finally gonna see a Premier League team.
Yeah, it's exciting again, isn't it? I mean, better than having to go away to Millwall, which wouldn't have.
Those first round of Wednesday fixtures in the Championship, I think Phil Hay tweeted about it. When they go off, like in August or whenever, we're all going to feel massively relieved we're not at Rotherham away or Luton away or QPR away.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So a massive thank you to everyone who's tuned in to our pods over the season, and some final comments then. Michael would like us to make West Ham calibre next year. We should aim for that. Mikey MOT Survival was all the sweeter because the season was so bad. Thought Strout goal against Brighton was important, says Gail. It was lovely, wasn't it? Had no voice after that game. Nova maybe assaulting Canos, to be honest. Otherwise, no assaults as a definite positive. Colin Brooks, not least Saint Etienne. Yeah, that pitching invasion was crazy. If you haven't seen it, look it up. They were throwing fireworks and bonkers, wasn't it? Michael got, how did the protesters get in with the handcuffs when you're supposed to be searched at the gate? Nobody searches you, football grounds. Nora, that was so wonderful to watch the game with you, Barney. Give some love for Barney. Come on. Nova, although maybe you made up for so many years of being a knobhead anyway. Brentford was like winning a playoff final. Do you know what, Gordon? That's a great point. It was. Most expensive game in football, that, against Brentford. Got to thank Tyrone Mings for that block against Burnley, and I can't stand the bloke. Yep. Studs away, wasn't it? Didn't matter in the end, though. So don't have to buy a Mings shirt. I spent that Brentford game pacing. Can't wait for the new season, and everybody's saying thank you. I enjoyed the 5 pods when we actually won this season, so there's no that. Cheers, everyone. On to something better next season. Sol says, thanks for all your work this season. Gets very underrated, this pod. Thank you, Sol. Right, we'll be back very soon with the highlights and match reactions from the Brentford game. Just waiting for Nora to get better again. It's her job to edit it. And we'll see you very soon next week for another pod.
Leeds.
Come on, England!